The forecast said light snow. The forecast has never once told me the truth in my entire life, and I keep believing it, which probably says more about me than about meteorology. By the time I finished the last quarterly report, the parking lot outside the office window had disappeared under a foot of white, and the sky was doing that thing where you can't tell where the ground ends and the air begins. My car was somewhere out there. Theoretically, the office was empty. Almost. Because of course. Of course, the one other person who stayed late was Rabia. Rabia, who took the promotion I interviewed for. Rabia, who corrects my slides in front of the whole team with a smile that could file paperwork. Rabia, who once said interesting approach about my budget proposal in a tone that ended 3 of my ideas and possibly my will to live. She was standing by the window with her coat already on and her keys already in her hand, staring at the exact same impossible whiteout I was. "Please tell me your car has 4-wheel drive," she said, without turning. "It has hope and a good sound system." "So, we're stuck. We're stuck." She exhaled through her nose. The most emotion I'd seen from her all year. We tried, to be clear. We're not idiots. We went down to the lot. My car door was frozen shut. Her car started, moved 4 feet, and made a noise I can only describe as an apology. We stood in the snow for about 90 seconds before mutual silent agreement sent us back inside, brushing white off our shoulders, defeated by weather and each other's company. "The roads are closed anyway," she said, checking her phone. "City just posted it. Nobody's plowing until morning. So we're here until morning. With each other. With each other." There was a silence you could have parked a truck in. "I'm going to make tea," she said finally, "and you're going to pretend this isn't happening, and we're both going to survive the night without incident. I love a plan with achievable goals." She almost smiled. Then remembered who she was smiling at, and didn't. Here is the thing about being trapped somewhere with a person you've decided you can't stand. You run out of ways to avoid them. For the first hour, we stayed on opposite sides of the office like 2 magnets turned the wrong way. She worked. I fake worked. The heating clicked off at some point, buildings on a timer, no override, and the temperature started its slow crawl downward. By hour 2, we'd both migrated, without discussion, to the break room, because it was the one interior room with no windows, and it held the warmth a little longer. By hour 3, the snacks came out. She had a drawer of emergency almonds. I had half a chocolate bar in my bag that I'd been saving for an emotional situation, and this qualified. She looked at the chocolate. I looked at her almonds. "Trade," she said. We traded. It was the first fair exchange we'd had in 11 months. "Can I ask you something?" she said, around midnight, both of us sitting on the floor with our backs against the cabinets because the chairs were somehow colder. "You're going to anyway. Why do you think I don't like you?" I turned my head. She was looking straight ahead, not at me, cradling a paper cup of tea gone lukewarm. "Because you took the promotion, corrected my slides in front of everyone, and called my budget proposal interesting. You think interesting was an insult." "Rabia, it was a war crime." She actually laughed. It surprised both of us. It came out sharp and startled, like something she hadn't authorized. "I meant it was interesting," she said. "I stayed up that night reworking my own numbers because yours made me realize mine were lazy. I've never told anyone that." I stared at her. "The slides," she went on, "I fix in the moment because if I flag it privately, it takes 3 days and the deck's already gone out. I wasn't trying to embarrass you. I was trying to protect you. Badly, apparently. And the promotion?" She was quiet for a second. "I thought you resented me for it. So I got cold first." It's easier to be disliked on purpose than by accident. I let that sit there in the cold break room between us. That, I said slowly, is the most emotionally efficient and completely insane thing I've ever heard. I know. You built an entire Nemesis relationship as a defense mechanism. I'm very good at my job. You're terrifying at your job. Thank you. We talked after that. Actually, talked. It turned out that under the smile that could file paperwork there was a person who read the same weird history books I did, who also hated the CEO's motivational emails, who'd moved to this city alone 3 years ago and hadn't quite made it feel like home yet. It turned out I'd built a whole villain in my head, and she'd been building the same one across the office. And we'd both been so committed to the story that neither of us noticed we were the only 2 people in the building who ever stayed late. Whoever cared enough to stay late. Around 2 in the morning, the cold got serious. We ended up sitting closer, shoulder to shoulder against the cabinets, sharing the one blanket someone had left in the lost and found. And it wasn't romantic exactly. It was survival. Except survival has a way of dropping every wall you spent a year building. She fell asleep first. Head tipped, slowly, until it landed against my shoulder. And I sat very still, the way you do when a bird lands near you and you don't want to be the reason it leaves. She woke up maybe 20 minutes later, realized where her head was, didn't move it. "This doesn't mean anything," she murmured, eyes still closed. "Obviously not. We still hate each other. Completely." A pause. "Although," she said, quieter, "I've never hated anyone less." I looked down at the top of her head. "That might be the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Don't get used to it. Wouldn't dream of it." The plows came at 6. Gray light through the break room doorway, the scrape of metal on asphalt, the world remembering it had somewhere to be. We stood up stiff and cold and folded the lost and found blanket together, corner to corner, the way you do a bedsheet, meeting in the middle and stepping back. She wouldn't quite look at me. I wouldn't quite look at her. At the door, coats on, keys out, the whole night behind us like something we weren't sure we were allowed to keep. She stopped. "Monday," she said, in front of everyone. "I'm going back to correcting your slides. I'd be worried if you didn't. And you're going to keep calling my proposals lazy. They're not lazy. They're just not as good as they think they are." She fought the smile. "Lost, see you Monday," she said. "See you Monday, Nemesis." She stepped out into the cleared parking lot. Snow piled in white walls on either side, and she got 3 steps before she turned around. For the record, she called back, "You can keep the rest of the chocolate." Then she got in her 4 feet at an apology car and drove off into the gray morning. I stood in the doorway holding half a chocolate bar and the strange, dangerous new understanding that I might have spent an entire year being wrong about the best person in the building. Monday couldn't come fast enough.